absolute numbers is something we have very strong feelings about. But it's not a mistake. It's like we have strong feelings because we usually have good intuition. Like, if I was saying something about the concentration of students in the class, that it's, in some crazy units of your concentration, you might not care about it. If I'm telling you like 100 students, 10 students, a million, like you would know, a million students can't be right in the class. But if it's, within some strange units that you don't have an intuition for, with absolute units we have good intuition. Or at least we have some intuition. And therefore we could also find that we're wrong and we're improving it. But that's something which is much stronger. Therefore, I urge you to often, convert things also to absolute numbers. But there's a risk of what happens when there's like really big numbers or really small numbers. Because for that also our intuition doesn't work very well with that. So how do we approach this? Last trick for today. And again, let's take a concrete example. How many ants are in the world? Now, I know what you would usually do if I was asking this question. You wouldn't, you would go to your phone and try to Google it, right? Okay, let's do it. Google it. So we have an answer. 20 quadrillion. Okay, anybody else has an answer? Okay, seems to be a consensus from the people Googling it, 20 quadrillion. Okay, very useful. Now there's two questions about it, right? A, is it true? And B, what is quadrillion? Okay, so there's a number of zeros there. Okay, so Erez says it's 15 zeros. Anybody thinks differently? Okay, so there's a cool thing that I've learned from somebody in class a few years back on how to know this, because I didn't know, like Erez, that it's 15 zeros. And it goes like this. There's million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. Anybody see something interesting? Yeah, so it's something with Latin, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it really, the name really gives you a good hint. And it's like in jumps of 1,000. Quintillion? Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, my Latin is really bad. Or Greek or whatever. Okay, so unfortunately they're starting with like million being with 6 zeros. But then from here, 6, 9, 12, 15, just like was pointed out. Okay, good. So this is 20 times 10 to the 15 ants. Okay, but who knows if this is like a propaganda of somebody who wants to sell you ants or something like that, or something against ants, and to show you that, or maybe just in general, they just want to show off that like they have something with lots of zeros, and there's no way of knowing, like, is it right or not? What's happening here? Anybody? So it's an absolute number, but it's not a very intuitive absolute number that I could. And I'm looking very often to do a sanity check. Sanity checks are like, the best thing in life in terms of like being able to test things. So how do we do a sanity check on this? I like it. Ants per square area, maybe that on that I might have a better intuition, because as we showed with the golf balls, we don't have a good intuition on the whole world, but on that I might be able to make some progress. Okay, so for that, what do I need to do? I need to divide the number of ants by the area of the world. Right, so I probably don't want to do it for the whole surface area of Earth. I just want to do it on the land area. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah, although it's a factor of 3, So usually we could go ahead, but it's fine. Let's just do land area. So anybody knows what's the area of land area of Earth? Okay, we could Google it, but I could also do it like just how do I do it roughly in my head? I just think of something that I know. I like like the US looks like this, and I remember the area of the US. Anybody remember the area of the US?
80 million.
Yeah, so it's like 10 million. 10 million square kilometers. 10 to the 7 kilometers squared. Okay, and then I'm trying to think, order of magnitude, what's the land area of the world? Ten times that, right? Because this is the US, then there's Canada, which looks the same, China, which looks the same, Russia, which is a bit bigger, so, and then there's the other things. Altogether, it's about 10 to the 8 kilometers squared. Anybody Googled it already? What's the correct answer? Maybe they did the same way. Yeah, so the correct answer is 150 or 1.5 times 10 to the 8 kilometers squared. Okay, so there's 15 US, not 10 US. It doesn't matter so much what we want to do. You know what? Let's make it 20 US, just so we'll be on the. So it would be easy with the 20 quadrillion, right? Because we said 20 10 to the 15 ants, and we make it 2 times 10 to the 8 kilometers squared. I don't have a good intuition for kilometers squared. What do I prefer? Meters squared, right? So I need to multiply it by 1,000. 1,000 in this direction, 1,000 in this direction, because it's kilometers squared. So I need to multiply by 10 to the 6 meters squared per kilometer squared. Again, I'm multiplying by 1. And therefore, I'm getting 2 times 10 to the 14 meters squared. That's the Earth. And now I have, this is 2 times 10 to the 16 ants divided by 2 times 10 to the 14 meters squared. And I'm getting about 10 to the 2 ants per meter squared. Watch out. So 100 ants per meter squared. What do you think? Okay, so some people are afraid, 100 here, it's a lot. But, it seems like too much. But then other people are saying, they're crawling underneath and they're pretty small, etc. Right, and then there's a colony maybe with many thousands of ants on 1 square meter. Okay, so this is an example where you did a sanity check, and I would say that's considered sane. Okay, like if the number would have come, 1 billion ants per square meter, I would say, strange. Or if you get like 10 to the minus 3 ants per square meter, also strange, because there's lots of ants around. But this is like, we're not very good at like saying, like is it 100 is like, it's somewhere reasonable. It's the kind of thing that the kind of sanity check you expect is to be within like plus, minus 1, 2 orders of magnitude, that would be fine. And therefore it passed the sanity check, and indeed, we think it's a reasonable number. Although if you want, you can read Yuval's paper, which gives a better estimates for different things, not just ants. But you can get what I hope you get from this is how by transforming from a value that's just in general into something that becomes more intuitive, absolute units per unit that you're aware of, you can check things.